from the very beginning of my wing career, I've had haters and doubters, and it doesn't really bother me because no one really understands the situations and how difficult it truly is to be competitive at a top level in wing sprint car racing.
Green flag in the air.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Hot Lapping with Landman. Chris Windom just got done running for Rookie of the Year with the World of Outlaws as a 34-year-old. You don't just become a racer and a rookie with the World of Outlaws without having some experience. Today we're going to learn a little bit about Chris Windom, how he got started, where he cut his teeth, and where he got the experience and the knowledge to jump into a winged sprint car and go racing with the World of Outlaws. It's a great story. Chris basically had a non-wing background. We're going to hear all about it and how he got to where he is today. If you like what I've been doing, like I always ask you to do, please give me a like, give me a follow, subscribe to my stuff, share it, tell your friends about it. The more I can get out there, the more I can get information to you folks and keep doing what I love doing. So without any further ado, let's get Chris Windom in here and let's meet Big Daddy. All right, everyone. So we have Big Daddy in the house this week, and it's really cool. Chris, I got a hold of him on short notice just this morning, and I know he's had a very busy last couple days. Chris, tell us a little bit where you're at right now, and let just share with us what you did this last weekend, because I think a lot of people would be interested to hear about that.
Yeah, we went to Belize for Thanksgiving and had a week-long vacation there. Came home following week. Georgia had to fly to Brazil to do a Formula E event. I had Waylon, my son, for 4 days alone. That was a lot for the first time. And then we went straight into Tyler Courtney's wedding this past weekend. So we traveled to Iowa, and now we came back to Nashville, and we'll probably hang out down here. I'm at my mom's house right now. Probably hang out down here through Christmas.
So I think a lot of people that are probably watching our show will know they've got ties to Chris Windom, and Georgia comes from a little bit of dirt background also too. But just real quick, and we're going to talk about this later on in the show. But Georgia Henneberry is your fiance now, and she and you share a great passion for motorsports, but you guys go your own separate ways on weekends.
Yeah, it was difficult before being gone from each other that much, but then you throw a newborn into the situation, it definitely makes it a lot tougher. And we wouldn't have been able to do it this year without the help of, my mom especially. My mom from the Indy 500 was Georgia's first full race back, and then the rest of the IndyCar schedule on from there. Obviously, I was on the Outlaw Tour, and I probably got the easier end of the stick because I just got to leave by myself and go to the racetrack, and she had to travel with at that point in time would have been a 3-month-old to the IndyCar races. So, like I said, though, my mom was a huge help. She went to every single IndyCar race with her all year long, and while she was working, my mom was at the hotel with him or at the Airbnb, whatever they had, and she'd rush back on her breaks if she needed to, and then I would be gone wherever we were that weekend, and we'd link back up on Monday, have a few days all together, and head back out Thursday for wherever we both had to go.
Yeah, that's great. Great working hand in hand together, and just kudos to both of you for with that newborn being able to carry on with your careers.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
Chris, you probably know a little bit about my show, and I love just talking to the personalities away from the racetrack and getting to know a little bit about them. And I like to say that I'm usually pretty well prepared when I bring my guests on, and I used all my kind of secret sources and all that stuff too, but I'm missing some timeline that you're going to have to help me fill in with a little bit, because obviously you're born in 1990, and from my math that I was able to come up with, you have a birthday coming up a week from or Wednesday, I believe. Sounds like you're a Christmas Eve baby.
I am a Christmas Eve baby.
So most people can look at the date and say, oh, they're this age, but you're just going to be getting ready to turn 35. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So born in 1990, and I had this wrote down where you were born at. Stand by. You might have to help me out with that.
Canton, Illinois.
Yeah. Yep, Canton, Illinois. And obviously, you've made a living driving race cars. Tell us what got how you got bit by the bug and said, hey, your first few moments involved in the racing world.
So my dad and I never got to see him race. He quit, I think, in the late 70s or early 80s, but he raced flat track motorcycles professionally on a 750 Harley. So he traveled the country running, the big miles, DeCoin, Springfield, everywhere. Ascot, he got to race at Ascot. But yeah, he did that. So I don't know. I was probably 4 or 5 years old riding a dirt bike around our backyard for a couple years. And I know it was when I turned 7 because I was supposed to be 8 to race a go-kart at the Spoon River, but we told him I was 8. I was really 7. But he put me, I wanted to race motorcycles because that's what I would been riding in the backyard. And he put the kibosh to that. He said, I got to get in something that I can sit in and not be on 2 wheels. So got a go-kart when I was 7 and raced at Spoon River Speedway. There's actually a sprint car track there too, but we ran on the small track most of the time. And I won the track championship my first year there when I was 7. And kind of just the rest is history. I think we raced kind of locally that first year and then the following year just around Illinois. And by the time I was 9, we were going everywhere, South Dakota, Nebraska, with the state of Washington, all over the country racing go-karts.
So when you say South Dakota, I'm going to guess that may have been IKF karts.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So you were probably either in Aberdeen, South Dakota, or in Brookings, I would want to guess.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly where being so young, but I do remember that we were out in that area a lot. It seemed like running IKF races.
That's cool. Did you ever run the Grand Nationals?
I don't know where do you know where that would have been?
Man, you have to tell me what years we're looking at because
I ran go-karts from out in that area probably from 99 or 2000 through 2002. I think. I know I
Yeah.
won 2 championships in Nebraska at the Nationals, and I don't remember what town or what track it was, but I do know it was out in that area.
And I can relate too because the karting stuff kind of blurs your memory too. Because I drug my kids around. They were go-kart racers too. So
Yeah.
I get how it's hard to remember back then. But so you guys hit the go-karts pretty serious. And at what point did you decide it was time to maybe move up to something a little quicker?
Well, we ran the go-kart stuff, and I don't remember exactly how we got hooked up with them, but we got hooked up with Rodney Staley, who owns Concept Chassis, which are micro chassis. He's out of Indiana, and so we came to Indiana, started racing at Logan Sport, Peru. There was 4 or 5 tracks that ran micros a lot around there, and started with that in 2000, maybe at the end of 2002, started 2003, when I was 12. And honestly, I only raced micros for 2 years because I know that we bought a 410 sprint car when I was 14. So we used to go to Knoxville a lot with what's his last name was Stroud. Steve Stroud, I think was his name. Larry
Yep.
Ball ran his car. A lot of those guys ran his car.
Yeah.
And we helped with him because he was from Illinois, close to where we were from. So I'm assuming somewhere in that with that connection is how he told us to probably go get a micro and start there. And I honestly didn't grow up as a kid watching sprint car races that much until I started going to Knoxville. And I really don't think my dad did either, just being a motorcycle racer. That's kind of more what he knew. And so yeah, we went to Indiana, started racing micros, and I tested a 410 sprint car when I was 14 at my home track at Spoon River Speedway, and then started in from there.
So you actually started in a was that a winged car or was that a non-winged car? I guess I should
We
ask.
bought a wing car and turned it into a non-wing car because there wasn't a lot of places. I don't think my dad wanted me to go wing racing, right? But it was a 410 sprint car. but there's a track called Paragon Speedway in Indiana,
Yep.
and it's obviously still racing, but back then we kind of followed what Brian Clausen did. He started racing there when he was around that age, and by the time we were running micros, we knew him and knew kind of his path, and they let me race a sprint car at Paragon when I was 14. So
Did you
I
have to
went
get permission for that, or did you guys have
I
to
had to
fudge
get
on the age a little bit?
no, I had to get emancipated to do it. So we went through that process and
Can
started
you tell us what
racing.
that process is real quick?
It wasn't really, I don't think, much of anything. I just remember going and signing some papers at the courthouse, and they allowed me to race as long as we did that. So
Yep.
there wasn't a lot to it, but yeah, we started doing that, and alongside running a Kenyan midget, which I don't even know if they still race Kenyan midgets that much, but it was big back then. So it was sanctioned by USAC too. So it was a USAC Kenyan midget. So to kind of take you through the timeline, I'm 14 now, I think I was 15 when we started doing this full time. I still lived in Illinois. We were just racing in Indiana. Okay. So I would go to school Monday, Tuesday, have to take a half day Wednesday to go race a Kenyan midget at the Speedrome Wednesday night, drive back to Illinois. This is about a 4-hour drive. Go to school Thursday, go to school Friday, drive back to Paragon and race Saturday, and then go back home Sunday and go back to school for 2 days.
So you were
And
hauling your guys' own stuff. You owned your own equipment,
yeah,
obviously,
my
back
dad
then.
and family owned everything up until I was about 17. So yeah, we did everything ourselves. And then when I turned 16, I could race other non-wing tracks in Indiana. So we'd race Bloomington Friday, Paragon Saturday, Kokomo Sunday, go home, come back and run a Kenyan midget Wednesday, go home, come back and run Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Indiana.
And that was all pretty much the non-wing sprint except for the Canyon Midget.
Yep, everything was a non-wing sprint car at that time.
So talk to me about your success during those days. Were you winning some races? Were you guys, not to
Yeah,
sound rude, I don't know. So just, were you
yeah,
guys pretty decent?
I won my first race at Paragon, I think 5 or 6 races in. And I think I only won 1, maybe 2 that year, but that would have been my first year racing a sprint car there. And the nice thing about Paragon back then was everybody ran a feature. So it was, if there was 50 cars there, they'd run 2 features with 25 cars in each feature.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you got laps and got experience, and that was a lot of the reason we went and did that. But I would say it kind of started off slow. We bounced around with people who helped us, as we didn't really know what we were doing. So, we had quite a few different people help us and learn from different people. And then we got hooked up with Keith Coons, and I think I ran a midget for him the first time at Chili Bowl when I was 16. And I made the A main with him my first year on
The Saturday
Saturdays.
night A main?
Yep. Started like 23rd and finished 7th. I think it was the year Tim McCready won the Chili Bowl, but had a really good run there. And then we kind of got hooked up with him for my first few years on and off. We still had our own 410 sprint car, but that was back when USAC was pavement and dirt though. So we would run pavement sprint cars, dirt sprint cars, pavement midgets, dirt midgets, and did that for the first 2 or 3 years between our own stuff and his stuff. And then never won a USAC race the first couple years. And I think at that point is when I was 17 or 18, I got hooked up with Jeff Walker from Indiana. He owned Dave Darland raced for him for a long time. He had a lot of good guys running for him at that point in time. And we went USAC racing full time in 2008 or 9. I think it was 2009 when I was with him for the first year. And we actually we won the Oval Nationals in Paris, California. And I mean, however much you want me to keep going, I've ran for
No,
a
yeah.
lot of non-wing guys.
Yeah, you have been. So, it looks to me like, so those are the years, what years are we probably talking? 2007,
Yeah,
2008?
2007, 2008 were my first couple years when I was still in my own stuff. And then around 2009 is when I raced for Jeff, and then I started getting hired by people around 2010.
And that's where I was wondering about. You go from obviously a very heavily addicted family hobby.
Right.
Now, and somebody just going to ask real quick, do you have brothers or sisters?
I have one sister.
Okay, and where was she at all this? Chris is off racing.
So she is 9 years older than me. So at that point, she was already in that's actually I'm in Nashville right now, and that's kind of the reason my whole family's here now. She moved to Nashville to pursue a music career, and she ended up never moving back home. So she's been in Nashville since 2000, I think. Yeah, she was already an adult, I guess, at that
Yeah.
point you would say, and on her own. So she traveled around with us a lot in those go-kart years and first few years of sprint cars. But yeah, she was already down in Nashville.
All right. The first thing I can see of any where you're starting to make a name for yourself a little bit here that I could find. Now you can help me out if you want, but
Yep.
2011 Indiana Sprint Week champ.
Yeah.
And
So go
tell me
ahead.
just a little bit about that car, the car you were driving, and getting that deal done.
So in 2010, me and Jeff Walker won. I won my first USAC race, and I won Oval Nationals, which was, I feel like, considered the biggest sprint car race of the year during that time period. And I had planned on going back with Jeff Walker, and my dad was still helping at that point. I think we still owned the rig, and Jeff it was all Jeff's equipment, but still some mixed in stuff between the two. And Kenny Baldwin called me after Oval Nationals and offered me, a full-time deal to come to the 5 car. And he was running full-time USAC at that point. And yeah, 2011, I decided to, obviously was a better decision to try to go race for somebody full-time and to be a hired driver. And what didn't hurt my dad's feelings, not keep paying for anything. So yeah, went there and came out of the gate, and it was an awesome year. We won Sprint Week, we won Sprint Week races, and all the way to the very end battled Levi Jones in the Tony Stewart sprint car for the championship. I think he ended up beating me by 30 or 40 points at the end of the year, but I had been racing 3 or 4 years. I consider that like my first real full-time season with a real team and, battling for championships and wins. And it was an awesome year. And then the following year, Levi got hurt and had to have surgery. And I filled in for him at TSR and got hired there to race for half the season. And it was a little rocky after that, honestly. That at the end of that year, they ended up hiring Brian Clausen to race for them, and Curb Records came, I think, with him. I was kind of out of a ride at that point.
Let's just talk about that a little bit. How was it to go to get the call from TSR, which is obviously a very well-established group, say, hey, we need your help. Would you be willing to come drive our stuff?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal as a 20 or 21-year-old kid, just had been racing for a few years, and to get that call. So that was a really cool experience to get to do that. And I was obviously hoping it would last longer, but you know how business goes in racing. So
usually not the way you want it to go, but
yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, that was really cool. I got to become closer with Tony at that point, and it definitely helped my career. I feel like getting to say I raced a TSR car.
Yeah. You said it got a little rocky after that too, where you were, you went from the 5 car to the TSR car, and then just kind of went stagnant, or how did
Yeah,
that work
so
out?
I ran TSR's car in 2012, and I honestly, up until November, late November, early December, I had talked to Tony, and I was under the impression I was racing it again the following year. And then around PRI time was when the news came out Brian was going to drive the car. So it was kind of late in the year to find anything. And I bounced her. I don't think I had a full-time deal from 2013 through 2014. I ran Rick Pollock's sprint car. He's another non-wing owner, and we actually won a USAC race that year. But yeah, I didn't really. I went a few years there with nothing. I think I might have completed the USAC tour, but I wasn't in contention to win the championship or anything. And really honestly, all the way through 2015, nothing set in stone was working out that well. And 2016, I went back to the Baldwin 5 car, and that's when we started hitting it off again. And the next 3 or 4 years is where I main part of my success came, I feel like. But and that was between sprint car, silver crown. I got a good rides in all three and was winning in all three divisions. So that's kind of where the majority of my success has been from.
During that stagnant time, you said from like what was it, 12 to 16, 15, 16.
Yeah.
Are you working a regular job at the same time, or are you trying to get by driving a race car?
No, I was still trying to get by driving a race car, and I was still racing enough, and I was young enough. I didn't really have a ton of bills or anything at that point, so I could just kind of float around and do what I wanted at that point. But yeah, it was tough. I mean, I know there was times I was kind of like, am I going to be able to keep doing this or not? But I was able to pick up enough races. I still was racing a lot. I act like I didn't have anything, but I still was racing. I just wasn't as competitive as what I felt like I should have been through those 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. It looks like in 2016, you get that Silver Crown title.
Yep.
USAC. Leg one, baby.
Yep.
Now, by then, are you thinking any thoughts of Triple Crown at that point? Or are you just ecstatic to say, hey, I'm a USAC champion?
No, at that point I was just so pumped to win a USAC championship and win the Silver Crown championship. I never would have thought at that point I could complete the Triple Crown with USAC. And like you said, we won that year. I think we won every dirt race on the Crown schedule, maybe other than one that year, and had a good because Silver Crowns are still dirt and pavement. So
Yeah.
Cody Swanson was really tough to beat at that point in time on pavement. I think he won most of the pavement races, and the championship came down to Eldora, where I had a little edge on him, I felt like. So we were able to close it out there and beat him. But yeah, no, I never really had that on my radar at that point in time.
So you win the Silver Crown championship, and obviously, I don't know if that did anything for you, for people getting your attention or not, but it looks like 2017 with the USAC sprint cars, which was non-wing. I think everybody knows that, but we just want to clarify
Yeah.
that. The 2017, you win the sprint car championship. Tell us a little bit about the ride you were driving there, how you got to that point, and what clicked that year for the sprint car.
So I 2017, I'm back in the Baldwin car that I had the success in 2011. I think I kind of skipped over that. We had a little falling out in 2012. We had, like I mentioned earlier, we had won a bunch of races in 2011, almost won the championship, came back in 2012. USAC changed the tire, I think, that year, the right rear tire, and we could not hit our ass for anything. We sucked. So
Yeah.
we split up in the middle of 2012, and I think we were both. I was young and probably not didn't have the best attitude at that point. So I was like, screw those guys. I don't need to race for them. You know
Yeah.
how that goes. So yeah, we kind of had a little animosity towards each other for a few years, and I think we both went through the same things to where we neither one of us were having that greatest success. We rekindled that at the end of 2016 and got back together in 2017. And same. It was Derek Claxton was my crew chief. His dad owns Claxton Engines and built all of our engines. So it was kind of like a reunion of everybody, all the same people back together. And we went out and had the success we probably should have never split up from doing again, and won the sprint car title.
Um, you keep racing those guys for a couple years, I assume, then, right?
Yep. Yep.
And because I had in my notes too. Well, we're gonna move on to that. So you continue to do that. When do you start dabbling in the national midget scene?
So I got back. I did not like racing midgets at that point in time. I had ran full-time midgets for a few different teams, and it was when they were developing all the Toyota engines at that point. And Keith's Toyotas, Keith Coons was dominating everything in the midget side, and I think Stanton was building the other Toyotas. And I ran midgets for a year with Wilkie Pack. They're out of Wisconsin, and then Don Fike for 2 years. And all we did was blow midget engines up all year long. And I was just like, screw this. I'm done with midgets. I don't want to keep doing this. But then back, so I went to the Chili Bowl with Clausen Marshall. Actually, Cindy Elliott from Elliott's Trailers sponsored the midget for me to race. And we went to Chili Bowl, had a pretty good Chili Bowl. Well, at that time was when Lauren Albano from NOS,
Yep.
that was her first race she ever came to
a Chili Bowl?
Was Chili Bowl, and she was sponsoring. Ricky Stenhouse was racing a Clausen car, and she came to Chili Bowl. And luckily for me, Sunshine, Justin Grant, we were all on Clausen's midget team. She thought dirt racing was awesome, so she's like, "You guys want to race for NOS?" And I think that NOS at that point, they were sponsoring Kyle Busch and Ricky. They were in the NASCAR world, and I kind of feel like Monster was also in NASCAR. And for people who don't know, Monster owns NOS, so I think they wanted to take their brand maybe somewhere else and dabble into the dirt track stuff. And it was just kind of by happen chance at that point that we kind of just fell into the NOS situation that year. And so she sponsored me to go back full-time midget racing with Clausen. And I ran a year there. And then I got hooked up with
I just
go
need to
ahead.
jump in and just to make sure we get back. I need to get back on track anyway. What
Yeah,
year was this first year you went to the Chili Bowl?
2018, I think is what it was.
Okay. Yep.
Because then we ran the 2000. No, I guess it would have been the start of 2019, because we ran the whole 2019, because Chili Bowl falls in the fall in January of the next year. So we ran the whole 2019 midget schedule with Clausen Marshall, and that was NOS was a sponsor for me and Tyler on the midget there. And then
That was something that came together pretty quick then, from Chili Bowl to, hey, we're going USAC racing. Just a couple months and you're starting the season. And hey, by us going to the Chili Bowl, we ran across Lauren.
And
she's awesome. If anybody that knows her, she is an awesome person, and she is a true race fan.
Yeah,
so
she just showed up, I think, midweek, and I think Ricky introduced her to us, and she was really just there, I think, for Ricky at that point. But by Saturday night, I think we were at Lenny's, at the bar Lenny's in Tulsa, and she had so much fun all week. She's like, "You guys want to race for NOS?" So that's it. It's really how it all happened. It all came together really fast.
Yeah, that's and that you got ahead of me there, because I wanted to ask, how did you ever become a NOS member? And you all right, so we got that one. I can check that right off the list. But that's a cool story too, because the thing about it is very loyal too. She's been with you ever since.
Yeah, it's obviously, I didn't know her, or I knew what NOS energy drink was, but didn't know anything about the company. And they've obviously, not even just including me, including everything they've contributed to the sport, have been maybe one of the most loyal sponsors in the history of dirt track racing at this point.
No doubt. So just appreciate all they do for us. So
for sure,
we have to get that in there for sure. Not for us, but for you guys. And let's just say dirt track racing, because you see NOS a lot of places.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So 2020, that's when you decide you're going to go national midget race, and then the year you hit it 2019 with Marshall.
Yep. And then switched to Chad Boat's cars in 2020.
Tell me the transition there, how that went down, and why, and all that stuff too, because about then I think the midget racing, at least for me, is starting to get some national attention, where people are like, hey, this is good stuff. And you guys had like a heck of a point battle, I think, in 2020. I don't
Yep.
remember what happened in 1919, but I think 2020 came down to that final tour on the West Coast, and I can't remember. It was between you and I think Justin Grant
It was Sunshine
or Sunch.
in
Oh yeah, okay.
a Clausen Marshall car that I had just ran the year before.
With
So yeah,
NOS energy drink on it
yeah,
also.
both cars full NOS energy drink.
Yeah.
I'll get to that story at the end too, as
Okay.
I feel like most people know about it. But so yeah, the end of 2019, I was with Clausen, and I mean, I wouldn't say there definitely was no bad blood with anything at that point. Sunshine had just was their primary guy. He was running their sprint car full time. He was running the midget full time, and I just kind of felt like there wasn't like Chad Boat at that point was looking for like his main full time guy, and I felt like just between me and Tyler, we're best friends, so it's not like we didn't like each other or anything, but there just wasn't enough room there for both of us to be successful. I felt like it was either going to be one or the other. I felt like it was in my best interest to try to go do something else, and that's why I went with Chad. And it ended up being a good deal because we won the championship our first year together. But is there anything in between you want to talk about before the end of that?
Is there anything you want to talk about?
I mean, no, other than we had a really successful year and
Yeah.
we
Okay.
battled.
So the only thing I was going to touch on, and was that 2020 season that
Yep,
gets you your third leg, the Triple Crown for
yep.
USAC.
So
And I'm
it
go ahead.
ended up being pretty controversial by the end of it because we
Well,
battled
you brought it up.
we battled all year long. Um, and it came down to the final night at Bakersfield, California, and me and Tyler were separated, I think, by 7 points. He was in a Clausen car, I was in a boat car, both NOS cars. Ricky Stenhouse, he comes and races Bakersfield. He's in a NOS car. I'm running, I think I had to finish 3 spots. Well, I think it was 3 spots within where Tyler finished to lock up the championship. And I think Tyler was third. I was 7th. Ricky was 6th. Coming to the checkered, I knew I needed one more spot, and I got into the back of Ricky and spun him out. And it was some turmoil afterwards between the Clausen camp and me. So 3 NOS cars, team I just raced for, and obviously me and Tyler are good friends, and Lauren's in the middle of all this too. So
And
she was really
Rick,
cool about it though. She wasn't mad at me at all. But yeah, it definitely was a lot of controversy with that
so
last championship.
was Ricky, did he have any ownership in either one of the midgets
No,
that
he
night?
didn't have any ownership in the non-wings or the midget stuff. He would come race whenever he had
Yeah.
free time to come race. He was
Well,
not
Ricky,
happy
next
with
time
me
stay
then.
home.
Yeah, right. I know.
and and I like Ricky Stenhouse. I'm just saying that. So
Yeah, no, for
I
sure.
remember watching that. I remember watching from the comfort of my living room, and just I'm sure I had the same reaction everybody else did that was paying attention, eyebrows raised, and
Yep,
but you know what? It is what it is. And
that's
you know
right.
what? And without literally saying what you did, I appreciate you telling us how it happened.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you get that Triple Crown. And is that a good feeling for you, or did it take a couple days? Were you excited that night?
I mean, I was super excited. I got ran up and down social media for a few days after that, but no, I mean, I had felt like we still earned it. We had a lot of misfortunes there at the end of the year that even got us with, we had kind of, I wouldn't say dominated, but we had led the whole season points battle up until that point. So no, I was super excited. I got Chad Boat his first midget championship, and obviously it completed my triple crown. So we had no problem having a good party that night afterwards.
Did Tyler come over or not?
I didn't talk to Tyler for about a week after that, but he got over it pretty quick.
Yeah, Tyler's pretty laid back,
Yeah,
honestly. He's a good guy too.
yeah,
Speaking of California too, you said it, you kind of had the whole thing handled, and tell me if I'm wrong, but when you go out west, it's a whole different beast track condition wise, wouldn't you say? Midwest, Eastern, and stuff like that, is I'd call it normal or maybe slick. You get out there, she's juiced up and rodeo up too. And because sometimes it can just, you can be a victim of circumstance there too.
No, for sure. And I don't know what it is. I was always successful there in a non-wing sprint car at most of those places, but in a midget, we were not very good out there, and that got that points battle that year back that close because I think they beat us pretty much up until that point. So yeah, it's tough to go out to California and race, and now doing the wing stuff, it's definitely a different animal too.
Yeah. 2021, you come back with the midgets, and one thing that caught my eye was you ran 100 features that year.
I didn't even
Um,
know that.
yeah, and I don't know if it was all midgets. I'm sure there was some non-wing sprint car
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah, I would have
some
been
other
full
stuff there,
time
but
midget sprint cars
on
and silver crown still.
yeah, according to my race pass, 100 features run by Chris Windom, 9 wins, 49 top fives. That's almost 50%.
Yep.
Tell me about your 2021 season in just a nutshell. Were you back with Chad Boat?
I went back with Chad Boat, and we had. I mean, I felt like another good year. I think we won 7 or 8 midget races that year, and that was I don't know if it was Buddy's first year. He was racing for Keith Coons though, Buddy Kofoid, and him and we battled for the points championship most of that year too.
And did Buddy get it that year? I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
think
have to
Buddy
assume
got it
so.
that year. Yep.
Yeah. So, but a lot of fun there with Chad that year. I noticed in 2022, you make the decision. I'm going winged sprint car racing, and I want to say was it the Reinbold camp
It was Brody Hayward, Hayward
or
Motorsports.
Brody Hayward?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. First of all, what made you decide? Listen, I'm leaving my comfort zone here. I,
Yep.
I, you know, uh, nobody's gonna say I own it, but midgets,
Right.
you're making pretty good bank. Your non-wing sprint car thing is great, and you're like, I'm going wing car.
So it's kind of something I had been watching for a few years at that point, and obviously Sunshine had made the transition at that point, and we were good friends. But really, it kind of just goes back to what we started. We started this conversation in 2007. I had just been racing non-wing sprint cars for so many years. I felt like at that point, and I just was I don't know if burnout's the right word, but I was just kind of over racing the same Indiana tracks, over and over every year. And it wasn't just that, though. It was a combination of a lot of things. Combination of that, combination of I felt like I'd kind of done everything I wanted to do in USAC coming to that point. I had a great sponsor with NOS Energy Drink. And it's no secret that if you can, run well, the money is so much better in wing racing. So I would say between all three of those things, it made the transition for me a pretty easy decision. I mean, it wasn't an easy decision, but that was just the direction I felt like I needed to go to really. I felt like I was kind of just leveled off in the non-wing world, and since then, I felt like USAC has upped a lot of their purses some because they were losing guys like Sunshine and me to wing racing, and they felt like they probably had to, which is great for them. I'm glad they've done that. But at the point in time then, it was you kind of what I was doing was making okay money, but that was the most you were going to get really at that point. No matter you needed to win 20 plus races a year to make much more. So I felt like it was the best time. Obviously, I wish I could have done it when I was in my early to mid 20s. It would have probably made it a
Yeah.
little easier. But with having NOS, I called Lauren about it, and she was fully on board. So I felt like now's the best time to try to go do this.
So you guys, and tell me again, you said was that Hayward?
Yeah, Hayward Motorsports.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hayward Motorsports. You guys hit the winged racing in 2022, and tell me about the challenges for you to adapt if there were any.
Well, there was a lot. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. I don't think, but just for starters, Brody Hayward was the owner of the team. He had never owned a wing team. I talked him into this. we had ran a few wing races beforehand. I think I ran, 5 or 10 wing races up to that point, but I had never ran a wing car full time. He'd never owned a wing team full time, and the guys working for us never had worked on wing. Austin Winrick was with us, and he had worked on some wing teams, but never a crew chief, and he had to be the crew chief. So
Yep.
it was really just a group of guys that really I would, for better lack of term, didn't know what the hell we were doing, and just decided to go do it.
Do you think if you could have done it a little different, do you think you'd have tried to latch on to somebody that could maybe give you guys
Yeah,
a little
I
more
mean,
guidance? And
it would have
I'm
been.
not bagging on the other two at
No,
all.
not at all. I obviously think there was definitely better situations I probably could have approached, but it was Brody was full in, he had committed to me, and I felt like he when he said he would make the transition with me, and Lauren obviously said that Nos would come along, I felt kind of like I should be, let be committed to them to at least give it a shot. And like I said, I might not have really known what I was getting myself into. To not realize maybe at that point in time how important every part of a wing program has to be, or how good every part of a wing program has to be to have success.
You guys chose her. I think you ran with the All Stars. Is that
Yep.
right in
Yep.
2022?
Yep.
And I assume did you compete for Rookie of the Year that year?
Yeah. I I think I won what rookie of the year that year.
I gotta trust you.
Actually.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I couldn't find any stuff on the All
I'm
Stars.
pretty
So
sure that I did.
yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, it definitely was a huge challenge, but I felt like we had some decent success for where we were at with what we had to work with, and what me as a driver, my capabilities at that point, they weren't that high. But I also, like you just mentioned, I didn't really have anybody. I mean, Austin was great to work with, and Brody was great to work with, but no one really to help me get any better than what I was. I just kind of had to figure it out myself.
the reason I mentioned the 100 feature wins in 20 or 100 feature races in 2021 is because I wanted to jump to the 2022. You only run what I could find. Now, one thing I got to get these USAC people, I got to get them on my race pass because
I
I've been
know.
hounding them on Twitter
I
and all
know.
that. And USAC folks, if you're listening, please get to my race pass because we all look for that stuff every night.
Right.
But I found you only ran 53 races in 2022
That sounds about right.
and no wins, unfortunately. 6 top fives though
Yep.
in a wing car out of 53 races. Obviously, you had a little bit of success, or probably acclimated as the season went on a little bit better.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I knew that first year I didn't have any expectations. It was really just a learning year for all of us. I knew it was going to be, and from the very beginning of my wing career, I've had haters and doubters, and it doesn't really bother me because no one really understands the situations and how difficult it truly is to be competitive at a top level in wing sprint car racing.
Something I was going to talk about right before you made that transition from the micros and the non-wing to the sprint cars is the midget guys. They race with their elbows up. Can we put it that way?
Yeah.
Um, can you expand on that for just a little bit too? Do you have to have a different mindset when you drive a midget? Because I don't think it's that way in the non-wing sprint cars, but the midget guys are definitely all on every time they're on the racetrack. Is that a good way of putting it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's bumper cars, and I think a product of a lot of that is that when I first started racing midgets going back to like the Wilkie days, I've in my opinion, I don't think eighth mile micro tracks are racetracks that a professional touring series should be on, and that's kind of where the midgets have gone to a lot. And, I know that some of the big crashes that have happened at Belleville and Eldora and a lot of that have been reasoning for that. And I understand, but I want to be on a racetrack that has space and speed. And I felt like that's where you can really showcase what you can do. And the midget scene was just transitioning into small bull ring tracks, and I think that's just a product of that. There's nowhere to go. People are just going to run into each other, and you can crash and get out, get back in another car, and go again, and it's no harm, no foul. But when I was coming up at that age, it was more, if you crashed at Eldora, you probably weren't going to climb back in another car and get to go again. And a lot of the kids that, in 2020, 2021 coming into the midget scene, they had no fears. They just raced micros at that same racetrack that we're running a midget at now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think a lot of it, just my opinion is if you know you're not going to probably get hurt, why
Right.
not zing it in there?
Right. Exactly.
And it's just kind of a respect it, and probably got to ring your bell a couple times to learn not
I
so good
agree.
for you.
I
So,
agree.
2022, you get through the All Stars, and obviously there's a change at the end of the year.
Yep.
And I think you ended up over at the Vermeer car. Is that correct?
No, I went from the Hayward car to the 4 car, the lane racing car.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Yep, I forgot about that. Okay.
Yep.
So, how did you get hooked up with them, and was there a better opportunity there, did you think, or experience, or were the other guys ready to say enough wings?
So late in the year, it was kind of unforeseen circumstances. Brody just wasn't going to be able to do it again full time in 2023, and we didn't really all figure that out until damn near Christmas.
Oh,
So I was about to head to Chili Bowl and was out of a ride pretty much. So it all came together really late for me to get in the 4 car. I think it was at Chili Bowl when I was on the phone with Brett Lane, and we luckily put a deal together. But at that point in time, I had only ran 1 wing season, didn't have great success, obviously, but I wasn't like I was going to get called to go race a full time World of Outlaw car at that point in time. I had not done anything at that point, so that was kind of, I would say one of my only options was to go run the 4 car, and not anything bad to those guys. I love racing with those guys, but that's just kind of where I ended up with the options that I had.
just talk a little bit about that, because I think you pretty much got to get all the equipment rounded up. You got to get motors, you got to get cars, I don't know that they had that stuff or not. Help me there.
Yeah, Brett had everything. Cap Henry had raced for him the 2 or 3 years past on the All-Star tour. So
Okay.
I had never talked. I ran the whole 2022 season with the All-Stars, never spoke to Brett one time. I didn't even know him. I just knew that he owned a race car and I needed a ride. So I called him, and uh he took a few days to, I don't know who else he was. I'm sure he was talking to other guys at that point too, but took a few days and called me back and said I was in. So I drove his shops in Ohio. I got back from Chili Bowl and drove to Ohio and met those guys, and I'm sure took my seats, and
Yep.
we went all-star racing again.
Was it Tell me how different it was with those guys compared. Now, obviously, they've got a little bit of idea that, they're
Yeah.
winged guys,
Yep.
and they've been to some of these tracks and stuff like that. Was there a difference racing with them than there was with the other guys?
Yeah, I think I definitely learned a lot from Brett, and I started to get in with more wing people at that point in time, I guess you should say. I had met Lee Stauffer and got to be friends with him, and he started kind of helping us out that year too. He did help us a little bit in 2022 on the 19 car, and that's how I kind of got to know him. He started helping us. Brett obviously had owned wing cars, so he knew what was going on, and yeah, it definitely, I learned a lot jumping from that, or from the 19 to the 4. I learned just more about how to run a full time wing season, I guess you should say.
Yeah, and 55 races that year, but 12 top fives, starting to sniff there a little bit, getting to the front, and
Yep.
probably running more consistent also.
Yes, for sure. I think we finished third in all star points that year. Had didn't We should have squeaked out a win, and I screwed that up. But we we had some podiums and quite a few top fives and top tens, and I felt like I was starting to, gain my stride there a little bit.
Isn't it kind of ironic how we remember the ones that should have?
I I
Those
know.
ones seem to remember the most sometimes too.
That's for sure.
So this is okay. So I got ahead of myself a year, but then in 24, was it the Vermeer 55 that you got with?
Yes.
And talk about the transition from the 4 to the 55 and how that went down too.
Well, I made that decision around November, and that was when High Limit created their series and the All Stars went away.
Okay.
So
Yep.
obviously, I'm sure quite a few of us would have stayed running All Stars if High Limit wouldn't have taken over, but they expanded their schedule. It was a bigger touring series, and I, like I said earlier, I loved racing for Brett Lane. Him and I are close friends now. We still talk a lot, but he was racing on a pretty limited budget, and he was going to try to go for it, but I didn't know if we could really complete a high limit schedule at that point, and I felt like with me jumping into into the wing deal, I couldn't really take a step back and not try to stay on a full-time national tour. That's what I've done between USAC. I'm not interested in regional racing. Not that he was going to try to do that, but I
Yeah.
felt like if we blew one too many engines up, that might be where we end up. So I got the call from Vermeer um, to come run the 55 car and go full time high limit racing, and that's kind of where I went.
And that you said that was in November. So you had a deal put together relatively early compared
Yeah,
to the
compared to
last
the
couple of
last,
years.
yeah.
Yeah. So um the high limit, the first year you go out there with the Vermeer guys and I think I got it right here. Let me look real quick. Yep.
These aren't going to be impressive stats.
55 races that showed up and you had 9 top 5s.
Yeah,
And I know it was a struggle bus though too.
yeah, it was a
And,
struggle
and
bus.
just to be honest about it,
Yeah,
I'm a guy that watches everybody. So it's like,
yeah,
man, I wish those guys could get going a little bit. So,
yeah.
um, you know, just expand a little bit about that season if you can, about some of the highs and probably the lows too.
Yeah, I think we all had pretty high expectations going into it. They had ran well with the All Stars the past few years. I had ran well with the All Stars the prior year for it being only my second year, and there's not really one thing I can pinpoint the downfall to. I think on paper the 55 car had ran a lot better the prior 2 years, but I don't think anyone was really maybe I don't know if prepared's the right word, but to go to that next level and race against that level of competition that High Limit brought in that first season. The year or two before with the All Stars, it was really just and not taking anything away from anybody else, but the 26 car and the 7BC pretty much kicked everybody's ass almost every All-Star race. And then it was me running third or fourth or the 55 running third or fourth. And well, then you went from that to High Limit where there was 12 cars that were just as good as the 7 and the 26. And so now those third and fourth place finishes are 12th to 15th place finishes when you're not on your game. And, I just don't, I think that's kind of where we fell in. That's where we fell into in that range. And, you know, I just don't, not putting the blame on them, not putting the blame on me. We just didn't gel that well together. And the success was not there that I think any of us thought we were going to have.
Yeah. And that was, like I said, I was even surprised by that.
Yeah.
So obviously it's not a year to write home about. So 2025, I thought it was a very exciting announcement. I was excited to hear about it. I didn't know it was coming, but you get together with Jason Sides, and that's got to be just an interesting story a little bit there too about how you guys even got connected.
Yeah. So obviously we didn't have great success last year, the year before the Vermeer car. November rolled around, the end of the year, we were done racing, and I it so my first 3 years in the wing car now, I've been in 3 different cars. I really don't wanna get in another new car. I felt like I should stick it out with another team, but, I thought about it for a long time, and in the meantime of me and Vermeer hadn't really talked. I know he was kinda probably trying to, talk to other drivers. I was in the same boat of trying to sniff out a new team possibly. But I was still nervous just because I'm like, it's not doing me any good to keep jumping around from ride to ride. It's not going to help the success. Even though the success wasn't there, I almost felt like giving it a second year was a better decision. In that meantime of me pondering what I should do, I got a text from Jason Sides that said, give me a call if you want to talk about next year. And I did, and he was really excited to go do it, and I got off the phone with him, and I thought about it for a while, and like I said, me and Tony Vermeer hadn't really talked to that point, and it just kinda seemed like neither side was that excited to go racing with each other again the next year, so I thought, you know, why not go with someone that wants me there and where I maybe should probably have a lot more fun, and I made the decision to go with Jason.
With Jason Sides that you're gonna have fun. I
Right.
just anybody that doesn't know Jason Sides, they should because probably one of the happiest, most go lucky people there is in the world,
For
and
sure.
fun is his middle name. But um, I think after everybody was kind of got through I thought it was a surprise call too, and when I heard about it, but you guys got together and just give me a quick recap of your season. I thought you're racing for rookie of the year with, was it 5 or 6 other guys?
7 total
Seven,
guys, yeah.
seven. And, I just look at that and here I am asking you a question, but then keep talking. But, you battled for that rookie of the year right up to the end.
Yeah. Obviously, we started out the gate at Volusia, new team for now for the 4th year,
Yep.
and tried to learn each other there. We ran all the features at Volusia, didn't have great success, but I think the last 2 races we ran 8th and 10th. Took a little while to learn each other like it's going to with anybody, and, you know, we I think we went on to Talladega from there and had a little bit of a lull for the first 10 or so races trying to figure out what the way Jason does things and sets the car up is a little more, I guess you would call it old school compared to what I feel like I was learning from a lot of the younger guys in wing racing now. And so once we kind of got a common ground on setup, I felt like we hit our stride pretty well there in late April, early May, and went on a pretty good streak of, I think we made like 6 or 7 dashes in a row, had 3 or 4 top 5s there in the middle portion of the season. Had a lot of good runs, honestly. The running with those top 5 or 6 outlaw guys, it's hard to beat those guys, and, we were doing it there for a while, so I was happy with that, and then, the outlaw schedule was another new schedule for me, a lot of new racetracks that I had never been to with any prior series or non-wing or wing at that point. So, a lot of new racetracks, and I felt like just what I wanted with the car was different than what Jason was used to and what he had been doing. So I really feel like this whole year was a lot of notebook building for both of us, just changing up, how he did it before to what we did now and what worked, what didn't work. But I was honestly really happy. And on top of it, like you said earlier, I had a lot of fun with Jason, and he's not a guy that's going to come cuss at you after a race if it doesn't go well or you don't do well. He's done this for so long. He's pretty even keel on good nights and bad nights, and that for me was a little relieving to just learn from him, and him try to help me with things when I was struggling, and not being so cutthroat of, we better do better next weekend or we're going to be splitting up.
Yeah. Would you say that Jason he's a happy go lucky, but when he wants to make a point, he's not going to get grumpy about it. He's going to say it and he's not
Yeah.
going to hold back. And you're going to be like, okay.
Yep.
Message received.
I learned that a few times this year. I got pretty snappy there for a week, I think, around Husitz when we were struggling, and he got his point back across to me, and we never really argued all year, but there were,
Yeah.
like you said, there's a few times when he's probably one of the happiest guys everyone comes and talks to at the racetrack, but he definitely, when he's serious, he's serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I was lucky enough to be beside you a lot this
Yep.
year, with the races I was at. The one thing I picked up on you, Chris, was, and you echoed this already about Jason, is he was willing to listen to you and let you do some things. And the things that I noticed as you got more comfortable and confident with the car, you were very hands-on. I know that you kind of took the shocks into your own hands. I'm
Yep.
guessing from what I observed, and some other things, ride heights and things like that. And to me, the mark of a successful driver is knowing what he's sitting in, setup wise too, and then maybe being a part of it. How important do you think that was for you to start taking some ownership in that too?
Yeah, I think it helped. I'm sure there were nights that it hurt, but I I I don't want to have to be in charge of everything. I like having Jason make the final call, or Jake, who was with us this year, make the final call. But I do think it's important to know what you're in, and unless you're somebody that's been with the same crew chief for 10 years and you don't need to say anything to him, that obviously is probably the best way it can be. But I felt like for us this year, it was important that Jason listened to me, I listened to him, and we worked together, because I felt like we both kind of would do things differently. And if you're not on the same page, you're probably not going to be that successful, I think is pretty obvious in wing sprint car racing. So I kind of felt like it was important that I not step in, but try to take over some things off of his plate and let him realize that I do know what I'm talking about a little bit on shocks and certain things of what I want to feel. And yeah, I would say shocks mainly are kind of just my thing that I like to set before we go out on the track.
And that's all I was saying was he was nice enough without being grumpy. He's like, "Hey, if you want to try it, I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
Let's
definitely.
communicate. We got the notebook. We can say, yeah, that was good or that wasn't good." And he's not going to rub your nose in it for 6 weeks. You just say, okay, it was good or it wasn't. So that's what I
Exactly.
thought was. I know it's you guys working together that way.
For sure.
Um, I don't know that it's official or yet or not, but plans for next year. Can we talk about those?
Yeah, I'm gonna run the 7S again. First time in 2 years in a row in the same wing car. So I'm very excited about that.
With NOS Energy behind you still,
NOS Energy will be back.
and you'll be full-time Outlaws again?
Full time with the World of Outlaws again.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to get to go back. Same car, same series, same sponsor, maybe a few new personnel, but other than that, I feel like getting to go a second year is going to be a huge step for me.
Jay has always taken this very seriously, but he had Jake from, and I'm not sure where at in Australia he's from, come aboard this year too, and he let him pretty much be the car chief, I would call it.
Yep.
And Jake, very knowledgeable. I got to know him too, and how much fun was it to work with Jake also?
Yeah, Jake was awesome. He was a great addition to the team. He was, very serious about coming over here, and I didn't really know Jake that well, but he's from Australia. He only was able to be over here for 6 months, and I felt like he really worked his tail off on the car all year, and he wanted to have success, and he was very serious about his maintenance, and I really trusted him to be there and do his job. So it was great. Plus, we had a lot of fun together. He's a good guy. We did a lot of fun stuff with me, him, and Jay.
That's for sure too. Um, so, and I think I also heard, is he trying to get back with you guys again this
Yeah,
year?
we're working on trying to get him over here for the full year. I don't know if he's gonna make it maybe those first couple months with his work visa, but we're trying to do whatever we can to get him back as long as possible.
And possibly another edition, maybe that you guys are working on too?
Yep. Yes.
Yep. Cool. So that's good stuff there too. Chris, we've also talked, we talked earlier in the show about the hectic schedule you and your fiance, Georgia, have. And any chance she's in the area, we could get her to sit down and visit with us for just a minute too?
Yeah, I think we can get her over here for a
All
second.
right. Holler at her and see if she wants to pop in for a second.
Georgia, come here.
I'm glad we were able to catch her. See what time.
Hello.
Hi, Georgia. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Everybody, Georgia Henneberry. And we were talking with Chris a little bit early in the show, too, about your guys' awesome relationship, but unique challenges that come with your relationship, being you're both in the motorsports world, but you go separate directions each weekend and then try to meet back at home on Monday or Tuesday. So tell us a little bit about your background. I was studying on you a little bit here before we went on the air. You were actually a race car driver before you got in front of the microphone and the camera.
Yes, race cart more so. I did have a micro sprint for about a year, but I did karting. We had horses before that, so a little bit of racing for sure in the driver's seat, but quickly realized that that probably was not going to happen forever. So tried to pivot as much as I could and make. At the time, didn't think I was going to make a career out of it. It was almost just it was a way to be at the racetrack and also make a little bit of money, and then turned into I should try to make a career out of this. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So for anybody that doesn't know, you started pretty much, I think, with USAC or the non-wing stuff, doing pit reporting there and things along those lines. And we're just going to kind of speed the process up. But you've been involved with the IndyCar series. And I don't know what, there's two letters in front of it that I wasn't aware of. I got to find them real quick here. You could probably help me out.
Oh, NTT?
Yeah, the NTT. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what that is. I'm sorry. I don't see you much on TV anymore, Georgia, put it that way. But you have a great group of people that you're working with too. And you've been able to move up to basically the network TV now, where you spent 3 years with NBC and now you have moved over to Fox. Mm-hmm. And doing reporting for the IndyCar series too. Just tell us shortly how that adventure going from the local dirt track scene to doing national stuff has been for you. If it's been a challenge or if it's been fun.
Oh, it's been awesome, and it's really just been a snowball in itself. I mean, starting with USAC, which is great. I think he did like 4 or 5 seasons with USAC. That's how Chris and I met. And that USAC's office is right next to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I kind of knew that I wanted to end up at the Speedway, and I got an opportunity with them doing their big screens around the track. And then doing that, I fell in love with IndyCar. Then I wanted to go on the road with IndyCar, got an opportunity to do that. They were gracious enough to let me do their screens at all the IndyCar races. And then that led to getting an opportunity with NBC, doing a race for them, then doing a year with NBC. And then when Fox came on board, getting the job with Fox. So it's really been a progression and a snowball, but I love IndyCar and it's a really fun job.
How much fun is it that you guys get to pretty much meet each other back at home on Monday or Tuesday and spend 3 or 4 days? Your guys' weekend is more along the lines of a Monday through a Wednesday, where everybody else is like a Friday through a Sunday, because you guys got to go to work on the weekends. But is that kind of a fun way of describing that?
That's exactly what it is, for sure. Monday through Wednesday are our weekends. It's a little bit different now with Waylon, where it doesn't seem like there's much of a weekend ever. But balancing the work life and now parenthood has been really interesting this year.
And now I talked to Chris about this. It is public, so we can talk about it. And now wedding plans.
Yes. Yeah, we were just making a joke today, actually, that we got engaged and then had just consecutive events going on right afterwards. And at the events, everyone's like, "Oh, when's wedding? When's wedding?" We're like, "You know what?
Talked about it.
We haven't even talked about it once since." Yeah. So we will get there.
Couple things I just learned about Chris today, and I shouldn't say I just learned about, but I have noticed, and today it finally is like, yeah, this is who this guy is. He said, "Lanny, we got to work this show around Waylon's bath, because we give him a bath every night at this time." And a lot of dads don't know when bath time is. So I get this vibe that Chris is a pretty good hands-on dad.
he's the best dad. Could not ask for a better dad for Waylon and a partner to do it with, because I mean, it's been a journey, obviously, just figuring out parenthood in this first year. I know it probably keeps going as a journey, but man, he's a really, really great dad.
Yeah, and that's what got to give kudos to the guys when they can get it, because I know being a good dad is hard and committed, and the guys that can stick in there and pull their share, to me, I just think the world of them. I really do. So that is a kudos to you, Chris.
And he's
I
very
don't
right,
even have to worry
because
about Georgia.
that time is coming up for sure.
I know it. So, and George, I don't even have to worry about you, because I know you're an awesome mom too.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
the thing is, we need to get you at a few more sprint car races this next year,
I
because
know,
Chris,
ladies.
what's the first question I ask you every time?
Yeah, is your wife here?
Is Georgia with you this
Yeah.
time?
Hopefully this year we were going back and forth between the World of Outlaws schedule and the IndyCar schedule and all that, and they're actually the first couple.
I was gonna say, your first weekend, if you're coming to Volusia, she's gonna be there.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, I want to meet Waylon. That's
Yep,
the
he'll be
biggest
here.
She's
thing.
gonna be there too.
He'll be
Yeah, cool. All right. So, Georgia, I just kind of an unplanned deal, but I thought, hey, we've got another personality right under the same roof here that's making a living doing this too. And a lot of my followers, I think, that from the dirt world would know you from back in the USAC days and being around with Chris too. And I just thought it'd be cool to talk about you being able to get your career in the motorsports world and being very successful at what you do also.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's nice to talk to you.
Yeah. So everyone, Georgia Henneberry. And if you didn't get enough of her tonight, tune into any IndyCar race next year, and I'm sure you'll get to see a lot of her there too. So thanks, Georgia.
Thank you.
Yep. So, Chris, thanks for sharing your fiance with us for just a few minutes too. Not trying to steal your thunder by any means, but
Yeah, for sure.
it's just kind of a unique story too. And I thought how awesome it would be if we could get her on too.
Yeah, she's more popular than I am now, so that works out.
Well, you know what? You can change that. All you got to do is, and I think you're going to get that first World of Outlaw win this year too. So it's got to be exciting getting to go back to the same car, the same team, and knowing the potential that car has. Man, you guys can qualify when it's right. The motor's ripped.
Yeah, I think Jason's stuff is a lot nicer than maybe what some people think. So I think a second year together and us kind of brainstorming in the off season to figure out where we can be, what we really need to do to get better, was something I didn't really know all year, just because while we were learning each other and trying to figure out where our weaknesses and where our strong suits were. And I feel like we both kind of know where some of the weaknesses are in with the cars or the engines at certain times of year, and obviously where I can be better at too. And getting a full year under my belt, coming back with same guys, I think it's going to be a lot better this year.
You know, I'm just curious to say too, you've probably gotten an opportunity to know. I have to bring him up. It seems like every show, but our good friend Donnie Schatz, and parked beside you guys most of the year. I think you've probably gotten to know Donnie better than you ever could have imagined. Is he the kind of guy you can bounce stuff off to at the racetrack and maybe learn a few things here and there? And
Yeah,
is he open with sharing it with you?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people have asked me that, and I'm probably not as good as I should be at going and asking for advice. I never really been good at it, and I did do it with Donnie a few times, and he has shared things with me, and I never would have thought a couple years ago that I'd get to be good friends with Donnie. But you know, we text a lot. He let me stay with him at his house when we raced out there, so getting to know him has been really cool, and then getting to be a teammate with him was really cool too, with Jason there at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot completely about that too. Yeah, that was you were teammates for what, 15 races or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? It seemed like if there was a group A or a group B, you were both in the same group, and if there was a heat 3 or a 4, you guys were in the exact same heat,
lined up right by each other.
Like how many times? I would say it was more than 75%. It was like, I can't believe this.
I know. It was crazy.
Yeah. So, one last thing I want to visit with you about, Chili Bowl's coming up here in another month. And I know that's probably got to be a race that you still really enjoy going to. And, what are your plans for the Chili Bowl? Are you going in there with the same stuff you've had the last couple of years? And what's it going to take to get that driller?
Man, I don't know. It's tough. I am going back with Chad Boat. Same car I've raced there for the past, I think probably 5 years now. It's been that I've been racing his car there. So he's a top-notch equipment guy. He's great at what he does, and he definitely brings the cars there that can win that race. So that's the ultimate thing you got to have there. And I probably will stop going once I don't have something I feel like I could win it in. So we'll see. I'm not getting any younger, and these kids are these young kids are coming in, and they're tough to beat at Chili Bowl. And I'm sure Larson will be there, and I'm not sure if Rico's running it or not. But between the full time guys that still race USAC and then throwing in Buddy and Larson, it's a tough event to win.
Yeah, CV
Yep.
and Dason are still pretty sharp
Yep.
too. It seems like
For
too.
sure.
So, but I mean, is that a race you can show up to without running a lot of midgets, you think, over the year, and you still feel like you're sharp and competitive? Do you get a chance? I mean, does practice night mean more to you now than it did in the past?
Well, it did, but now with Waylon, I'm not even going to go to practice night this year. I'm going to show up on race day and race. So I think it's definitely tougher doing it this way, trying to, being out of it and trying to jump back in for one race. But I do think that I did it long enough that it comes back to me quicker than what it would if I, didn't do it as many years as I did before. So I know Chad's cars, and obviously, like I just said, I've done it enough that I feel like I should be able to jump back in and be pretty competitive with just a few laps under my belt. But I guess time will tell.
Exactly. And what night do you qualify? Do you know?
I should be going Thursday night.
So can you take the whole family over there for Thursday, Friday,
I
Saturday
think
then?
that's what
Or
we're talking about, trying to do, Georgia and Waylon going.
yeah, absolutely. So all right. Well, Chris, hour and 15 minutes already. I can't believe that it flew by that quick, but I know you guys, you said you're down in Nashville. You're going to spend the holiday down there too. And I just appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your schedule, short notice, especially to visit with us and share with us, not just your history, but where you're at now and all the fun that I think you're having.
Yes, for sure. I appreciate you having me.
All right, Chris, we'll see you later down in Florida. I know that for sure. If not sooner, I'm not a Chili Bowl guy. I've
Yeah,
never
I
been
get
there.
it.
I don't know. I got to have somebody to hang out with, and I just don't know where I'd hang out at. So I'll
Okay.
watch it from the living room and wish you the best luck. So have
Um,
yourself a happy holiday, and we will talk to you soon.
Hey, you too. Thank you.
All right, gang. So once again, appreciate everybody for tuning in and learning about Big Daddy, Chris Windom, getting to know his wife, Georgia, just a little bit. A lot of you might know her from the IndyCar coverage and getting to know them a little bit. And Chris, appreciate you taking some time to spend with us today. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you next time.